Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Just booting up a yet another stream here. Uh, just kind of basically keep going with character designing and drawing and stuff like that. So one of my goals here is that see if I can maybe design the rest of the playable character roster for my game by the end of the year. So we'll have to see how that goes. Um, Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing, and it's gonna be very rough. It's gonna just be like I'm gonna have a basic drawing. It's probably not gonna really be a pose drawing or anything special, but like we'll nail down the character features basically. So I think what we can do is we can go through our matrix here, um, and let's talk about what we've done so far. Um, so yeah, so let's see. Um, so characters that you've probably seen on my channel so far. So you've seen Jordan. He was from that character design video I did last year. I'm actually going to probably reprise a lot of the information in some of the newer videos I'm going to be doing on this topic because it's relevant. Um, but yeah, so you've seen Jordan. Maybe I could just pull him up. Give me 1 second, Jordan. So you've seen this guy. This is an older drawing. It's still fairly okay. Um, so you've seen Jordan. You've definitely seen Kyla. She's everywhere on my channel. You've seen me 3D model her and everything like that. She's the blonde girl. Um, pull up. I mean, there's also just this picture I have here. Um, so I'm sure you're all very familiar with her. Um, we just did Xena a couple weeks ago. Um, and this is just their template design. Um, oh, thank you. Yeah. So I think with her is like I like her design. There's definitely things that could be improved upon it. Of course, like I'm not here to make perfection. Um, I think I gotta mess around with the color palette a little bit. I think it's kind of bleeds together too much, but I'll figure it out over time. I'm good with what it is for now, though. And a couple of fans on the Discord did give me some suggestions there as well, so I have to think about how I want to incorporate that. So we have Xena, and then yeah, continue making animations when you're tired. Yep, I'm always freaking tired. Believe me. Yeah, it's yeah, and even though I'm like not currently employed or anything like that, it's like I'm still tired. It's just shit's whack, man. But I'm working on actually looking for a job currently, so that's gonna be a different story. Um, anyway, off topic. Who else do we say? There's Nunko. You've seen a little bit of him. Let me see if I could find. I might have. So this is very old artwork. It's very old, but the design's gonna be very similar. Let's see if I can find. He's 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 the main character, but not really. I'd say he's more of a co-main character alongside Kylo. Um, the Noko model, honestly, I actually didn't really even finish it. I had got stuck on the hair, and I just never got around to like finishing it. Um, but actually, I could do. Give me a sec. I think this is it. I am planning to finish him though because I want to get a second character in the game engine and it would be helpful. So like yeah, this is where I left off. Just had trouble getting the hair to look right. So I gotta go and fix that. Um, I just have to do a little bit of research to try to make the hairstyle I'm looking for. And I'll probably make him a little less chubby potentially. I'll mess around with it, but that's kind of where I left off. But yeah, you'll see him around too. Um, he's also on the thumbnail. Let's see, of the video where I quit my job. You can find him there. Because why the hell not? I'll show you that. That's also him. And since he's very based very much on like a younger version of myself, it kind of can use a little interchangeably. Um, but yeah, it's and today we're going to look at um, Therid here. Therid is this guy. Um, I drew this a while ago. This was like several years ago at this point, I think. I don't even remember when I did this. Uh, it says 2022, but I'm not sure that's true. That's probably just the last modified date on the file. Probably it's a while ago. Um, but he's Noko's best friend. Um, and he's also based on my best friend in real life. So there's that for you for inspiration, I guess. uh, let's take a look at him and what there's about here. So he's he's like Nunko in the sense that they're both nerdy guys. They like video games. They like to talk about nerdy things. They have like inside jokes and just kind of have friendly banter here and there. They like to make comments about what's going on. Um, there it is a much more like less serious type. Yep. He's much less serious than a lot of the cast is. You know, he likes to poke fun at things and just have a good time. Um, but deep down, he feels like he doesn't really have an identity to cling on to. He always feels like he lives in Nunko's shadow. You know, growing up in school, he's always been behind the curve academically as compared to Nunko. He doesn't feel like he really has much success as he does, and you know, in some ways, he's just a little bit resentful of that. But at the same time, he loves his best friend, you know, and he will do anything to support him. So Theron's journey is really more about just kind of finding an identity for himself of, finding comfort in kind of where he is and finding ways to stand out from the others. Um, Finding a unique sense of self is what I have written here. Um, so as far as a backstory goes, I have kind of a basic one here. So the characters from Earth, which would be Nunko, Therid, and then their other friend Ion, we'll talk about him in the future. He's not a playable character. Um, the Their designs are going to be a bit simpler because naturally they're just from Earth and they wear casual clothing, so they're not really going to have any fancy clothing or anything like that. Also, not to mention that like I'm also designing my characters intentionally simpler, just so it's easier for me to manage as a solo person currently. Um, I also think there's merit in just designing characters more simply too, so I'd like to kind of see how that goes. Um, so basically, with Therid is he's basically like Nunko's brother, but brother from another mother, I guess, is the phrase they use. um, in a way, like that's true with my best friend in real life, but in this game, in the context of the game, Therid actually lives with Nunko like as a brother, because he was basically adopted by Nunko's family because his mother remarried to a man that was abusive, and as a result, his mother basically had Nunko's family adopt him. So he's basically Nunko's brother. Um, and they pretty much act like brothers, even though they're mostly friends too. So that's kind of where they come from. So obviously, you could also kind of make like a Mario and Luigi parallel in some senses here, and honestly, that's intentional. It might be a little bit overdone, but I like it because my friend and I both very much make Mario and Luigi parallels to each other all the time. He's a Luigi main in Smash Brothers, and like whenever we play Mario games, he's always Luigi and I'm always Mario. So it's if I'm not Yoshi, but it's I feel like there's a lot of similarities there. Also, even just in our shape too. I'm the short fat guy, he's the tall skinny guy. So like it kind of makes sense. Um, and that's also kind of the thing is like kind of like not necessarily relying on Nunko for his identity. Like he wants to be his own person in a way and kind of break out of his shell in that way. However, Therod has quite a few advantages over Nunko, besides combat related things, but like Therod's a lot more outgoing and sociable. Um, he's much more willing to talk to people than Nunko is. And he's not really shy around people. Like he very easily will say what's on his mind for good or his own detriment. Um, they both are the same age, slightly different birthdays. Um, let's talk about gameplay here. So, what is Therod's role as a gameplay? So, besides his role in the story being Nunko's best friend and is basically his secondhand man, Therod serves as kind of one of the first offensive characters in the game. He's due to his tall, lanky stature, he's pretty fast and he can move around the field pretty well. Um, but also just kind of due to his general hot-headedness as well. So I think there's a good reason to kind of keep him in that kind of like archetype. Um, in the world, he uses a lance as his primary weapon. Not only is it long, it fits kind of his tall stature. It also is a good counterpart to Nunko's sword, and it also like gives him some other capabilities in combat that kind of deal with range and stuff like that. His spiritual element is fire. He's also a redhead, so that checks out. Um, and just kind of stuff like that. So these are kind of the things. This is a bit outdated. The positioning thing might not really work in practice with the battle engine I have. So, but with the lance does offer kind of a well balanced move set in a way. But with Therod, he's basically your glass cannon type character. Like he's strong, he's fast, but he can get hit and he can't take hits very well. So he's a so talk about that kind of stuff, right? Um, I just have like other random details about it. So I think what that means for us is we're just going to kind of reevaluate the design that I have and think about what we can do with him to enhance it or kind of bring a little bit more purpose into it. I have some more data here too. Let's see. Okay, so I want to talk about some other things. Like, what does the lance do for him as a combat weapon? It's also slightly outdated. Um, the joys of managing a million spreadsheets. But like, um, sorry. Well, like each character kind of has like a thing unique to them, even though over time, the way the gameplay scaling works is, or at least the way I have it designed, is um, is that you can have characters learn each other's abilities over time through like bonding and just kind of interacting with each other, which allows you to basically create unique builds for characters where it's like, okay, this character excels at this, but they if they had this tool from another character, it could really make them shine. So, but at least at the start, each character kind of has their own unique thing about them. Um, so Therod's like, part of it is like he has a lance, he has some movement options. But what kind of works with Therod is that he has the ability to manage energy well. Um, so energy is like a tool that you use in the combat engine that allows you to basically control your action economy. So it lets you move and do attacks and stuff like that. So like Therod has tools to extend his energy pool basically off of conditions like killing enemies and things along those lines. He has tools to basically like trade off some of his stats as well. Um, like I think I have a skill here called Fire Up, which is basically just like a quick burst in damage, basically, which could be at like the cost of his defense or something along those lines. So that would be kind of like his one. That would be like the tool that he has that's unique to everyone else. Or so let's go ahead and take a look at. Um, let's go ahead and take a look at this then. Put the picture in here. All right. Yes. To answer your question about the technology, this is you probably have heard of the term isekai, which is a genre, a subgenre of anime in which characters come from another world. Um, Noko and Theron also are from Earth, or like our understanding of it. Um, Whereas the rest of the characters are native to the world that they're visiting, which is called Aliatera. That's why you would probably see the technology disparity there. Um, I still have to like nail down the exact level of technology that the new world has, but I'm kind of thinking somewhere in between, kind of like old and newish. So like there will be some pieces of technology that will be available in Aliatera, but some others that won't. Like for example, transportation technology, you won't really see it in Aliatera because the world is so small. Um, but you might see some other things. Like I think there probably I had to decide on like, the exact details. Like I don't know if there really be so much computer technology or not. Um, the world, generally speaking, is very. The world is generally speaking pretty bare bones because um, they could use the force of Ara to do a lot of things that you normally can't in like real life. So like they could use it as a tool for agriculture and other things like that. But at the same time, the world was designed as a utopia, so there would be some level of technology there that would help enable people to like live their life to the fullest. So I have to decide exactly what that's going to look like. That's a project for another time that when I'm doing a little bit more writing, I want to tackle. Um, but I think at least to answer your question right now, is just because they come from different worlds, that would explain a little bit of their character design. disparities. Um, and I think that's another important detail we could look at too when we're looking at this character design. I can just move over to the side here. Get a little bit, but like maybe like a thumbnail here. Um, so because Nunko and Thera come from Earth, that's their designs are going to reflect that. And kind of a tongue in cheek kind of way, it's like because the nature of this being a video game, it's like they don't really have time to change it to something different. They just keep their same outfit from where they come from. Um, it's like just kind of go from there. Um, so I'm just gonna so let's take a look at some of the elements that he already has here. So you can see that he's got the t-shirt. I think something like a t-shirt or a hoodie or some sort of loose clothing like that is perfectly fine. As a character that's meant to be more nimble, yeah, I think a t-shirt is perfect. We'll look at some other designs and around. We could see what we could do with that. The I was thinking as in contrast to Nunko, as Nunko wears the big hoodie, I think having the t-shirt on there it makes more sense too. Because I don't want them both wearing hoodies. That'd be stupid. Um, it wouldn't really do much to diversify the visual design of the cast, so I'd prefer not to do that. Um, so instead, at the time, I kind of designed this little like light jacket that he wears around his waist. Um, so at least that way he still has like a jacket um, that I guess he could potentially use, but just adds a little extra visual flair besides just having a shirt and pants. Um, I think the jeans are fine. Nunko also kind of wears jeans, but I think I'm going to make his more look kind of more like sweatpants. So if Therd wears jeans, I think that would still be appropriate. Um, he will be wearing sneakers, so don't worry about that. The the watch I think's neat. Something like that, just like some little accessory could be good. Doesn't necessarily have to be a watch. Um, but that does also beg the question: is what happens to their technology when they enter the new world? So it's if they brought their phones with them, those phones would only work for a short period of time. They wouldn't even have network connectivity, so it's not like that would do much. Could be a funny question to ask in the game, but it's not like it would really do much for them. Um, the watch is something that's a little bit more future proof. Of course, the battery could run out, but at worst, it's just an accessory that looks cool, so it's fine, I think. Um, I think the other thing I want to do too is I want to give him some sort of hat. Um, so, so let's talk about that a little bit here, right? I don't think I want to give him a baseball cap because my friend in real life doesn't care about sports. I wouldn't expect Derek to as much either. Um, but I think having some sort of cap could add a little visual interest to him in contrast to Nunko. A beanie, that's a good idea. We could look at that. But I had another idea that I want to also bring up. What was it called? It was like a British cap. Um, a flat cap. So this kind of thing here. Um, I'm thinking something like this. Maybe not exactly. Maybe closer to this, where it's like this um, newsboy cap or something. He could even wear it kind of like off to the side a little bit too. Um, a beanie might not actually be a bad idea. It would fit well in the character too, I think, if we looked at a beanie. Um, Although I do think it would be nice to expose some of his hair too, not just cover his whole head. So I think something closer to... Okay, maybe not quite like this, but maybe like a smaller beanie that can like maybe cover some of it. Maybe somewhere in between. So like with this one here, like kind of, I feel like has some of that similarity. So some options. Uh, let's see. And then let's see. So also about his proportions, right? So let's talk about that too. So naturally I like the idea that he is taller and thinner than Nunko. Um, and I don't really see a reason to change that. Especially if he's going to take more of an offensive role in combat, he should probably be nimble. Um, Also, tall, skinny, lanky build gives him a little bit like a diversity within the rest of the cast too. Um, he effectively would be the tallest character in the main character cast, so we'll keep that in mind too. The As far as how much muscle we'd have, so this is kind of where I guess we just kind of go with anime logic, right? It's like, yeah, somebody who hits hard should probably be very muscular, but I'd say maybe just kind of like a little bit toned. It doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be like this huge muscular dude. I do have a character for that. We'll touch base on him at some point. Um, but we do have. So I do have that. So basically, what I want to do here is I do kind of similar to what we did with Xena. Is just going to draw a very basic like A pose that's mirrored, and so we don't really have to worry about anything special there. Um, and then we'll just kind of like nail the proportions down. We'll kind of add some of his other details. Um, and then like actually, what this here on the left here is just like the number of heads to measure Xena. So like she's 6.5 heads tall. So she's supposed to be very short. Sorry. I caught something like a couple weeks ago and it still hasn't quite like gone away. So it's just gonna be the way it's gonna be. All right. Yeah. Let me know if you have any other ideas that I could explore here. I'm gonna move you over. So let's go ahead. So I'll go look at the current reference. You'll see how many heads he is. Now he's in a pose, so it's not going to be exact, but the way I do that is kind of something like this, right? So like, yeah, it's about the size of his head. Now when I do number of heads measurements, like with drawing and stuff, it's not always clear where they start and end the head. Like, it could include the neck or the top of the hair or whatever, but we'll just do the best we can here. So if that's one, so like a duplicate. It's two. So that's 7, which is kind of surprising to me, actually. Um, I wonder if I wanted to make these a bit smaller. No, that's about right. So, 7 heads. So I think in so the number of heads thing is a little bit strange based on the research that I see. Like, human head ratios. So like there's this one. So I want to do like an adult, right? A young adult. So we also decided there it's kind of around the ballpark of 21 years old. Slightly older than 18, teenager. So I think young adult's probably good. Um, I'm sorry. Uh, yeah. I'm just gonna be coughing here. Don't mind me. Um, so typically, the average um, human, proportion is 7.5 for this type of body. But I think this could vary based on art styles. It could vary based on like the age of your character. Um, so I think we do like there's okay. So I think I might actually have it in here. I tried to actually make some very specific. Okay. Okay, here we go. So I wrote Thera down as being 6'3", which is 191 centimeters. Um, so all this does is just it maths it out a little bit. If we look at like the average head size, average head. All right. Average size of a human head. Let's see if I can find something that's female. I want male. This. I just ask. Perplexity. It'll be easier. <clears throat> 19.7 centimeters, right? So if you were to have um, an average size head but an above average like body, we could probably change this to 20 centimeters, right? Then all of a sudden that changes basically his proportions, right? Um, oh, see, it changed it up here. uh, that doesn't help. I was kind of hoping this would update, but okay. So adults, 8 heads. Okay. So I could say probably maybe not to overthink this too much. 7.5 to 8 heads tall, right? Um, but because he is average taller, I would expect him to be more closer to 8 heads. Um, but I think we're just gonna have to go with what feels right. Um, so if we get these, group them, we can hide that for a sec. Because I do think this looks fairly good, right? Like proportionally. Um, let me see if I could find a Nunko reference sheet real quick. Uh, okay, so this is Nunko by comparison, right? Um, give me one sec. Let's try to measure him. So if you like take the size of Nunko's head and make it about the same size as Therod's head here. Look, I know I get like really stupid meticulous with this stuff. But yeah, so like you can see that Therod is a bit taller, right? Um, but this design Nunko is also designed to be a bit older looking. Um, so I'd say if we look at our so like Nunko is actually kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like six, closer to 6.5 year in this sort of case. Um, but if we say, um, I think another thing that we could kind of look at too is that like in anime art styles, you'll tend to find that the legs are a lot longer than they would be on a realistic proportioned human. So you can see like with Nunko that his legs are basically to half the size of his body. Where like anime styles, you'll tend to see that the legs are a bit longer on average. Um, so it's another thing we could probably do, just kind of with the base design here. So yeah, we can see like there it is a little bit taller. I think these are still actually fairly accurate as far as like height because Nunko's 5 foot 9. He's there. It's supposed to be 6 foot 3, so I think that's about right. Um, if I really wanted to get exact, I could. I don't think there's a ruler tool in Krita, but I could hypothetically like say measure this and make a ratio here and do it that way. But I don't know if I care that much. Let me go ahead and hide not go here. I think what we'll do is we'll maybe experiment with making him a bit taller. Also, I was trying to make them a bit more adult-ish, young adult-ish, because I want them to be closer to 21 years old, um, rather than just teenagers. So let's go ahead, add a new layer. This is where we're going to go ahead and yeah, that is a good idea. I have done very similar things with like the base, like a base body in Blender. Yep. Actually, Actually, I think they might even have one at stock. I have also seen. I have also seen. What would I say? I use Clip Studio Paints as 3D model tool as well. Let me see. Yeah, let's pull that one up. I like to. I use Krita mostly on this channel because I want to stick to free tools. But I do technically have Clip Studio Paint as well. But if we were to like look at this, oh crap, this UI is interesting. Okay, I turn on the mobile version. Everything is huge. Okay, that's fine. Let's look at 3D models. 3D model type. This is male. Yeah, let's do that. And then we could look at the details here. So if we look at what's really cool about Clip Studio's tool is that you can change a lot of this stuff, right? So I can make it his actual height, which is 191, right? And you can kind of see that like it adjusted it to 8 heads tall. And I could like lower that too if I wanted to. Because if I did like 7 heads, so now 7 heads, you can see like his head looks really big. If I did 7.5, that looks still pretty. You know, that looks better. 8 would definitely be more like full adult kind of. Sorry. So I'd say like maybe somewhere around 7.5 we can go with. So somewhere in between, like, and that's like an average young adult, you know, size, right? Now, by comparison, if I entered like Xena's proportions here, Xena is 152 centimeters tall. So let's do that. So she had like 6.5 tall. So like you could kind of see that it looks a little more like a bobblehead in that case, right? But yeah, let's do like 7.5. I think we could just keep it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update these concentric circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Add one more. And then axe the bottom half here. There we go. So we could use this as our reference. If we do this. Yeah, by comparison, we kind of found that it still kind of fits. It's like not exact though. Probably did it relative to his head, not his hair. I'm sorry. With the coughs. Okay. It still checks out a little bit. Uh, okay. But we do have a rough guide, right? Let's lock this layer here. Okay, so what I'll do, so we can start kind of laying things out here because we got the mirror here too, right? So like his head. Yeah, as a male, his head will be more jagged naturally. So we want to make sure that's so we account for. Typically, like anime males also have a pointier like chin too. So I think something like that should be a good start. Um, let's see. And then typically, yeah, you just cut this in half and then half again. That's where the eyes and the nose go. Um, and then half again for his mouth. Okay. Now, the torso's usually, halfway around here, so probably want to do somewhere here, right? Because he's skinnier, he's going to want to have a very narrow base, but you still want to have a little bit of bulk to show his strength. Let's put the shoulders here. Also, because he is taller, I won't make the neck that thick. He's taller, he should have a longer neck too. So we should count for that. I'd say somewhere around there is good. All right. Now his legs. Now typically what you do is you kind of, the hips will go to around here. Now with like female characters, you want their hips to go out to the shoulders, but with male characters, they're going to be narrower. So it's I'd say that's probably good. He doesn't need a dump truck. Let's see. Okay. Now this is going to make his legs way too short, right? Okay, so I got to adjust this. Here, I'll do E. Scale it. Now I think like with anime, you would see somewhere around here, right, where the legs start. But I'm gonna kind of keep it closer to here. His torso is still pretty long. Okay, and I think, actually no, I need to, actually zoom closer like that, right? And then for his legs, just, yeah, it should be like a gap. They'd be pretty thin. His knees, right? And there would also have to be his feet. So we'll just kind of block it in like this. Okay. But we still run into some of the same challenges here. Let's do this. Shrink it. Let's make the head include more of the. There we go. Include more of the jawline and everything, and then I can. We're like around there, right? Because his feet are going to be on the ground too. Okay. I think also when illustrating a tall character, I will take a little bit of design liberty there. So I'll actually just make his legs a little bit longer. Let's see. So let's just do that. Just move this up a little bit, right? So, there we go. Okay, that makes it a little bit shorter. Maybe not as much. Maybe like somewhere here. Yes, crotch right here. Okay, now his arms, right? So I want to definitely make the shoulders a bit wider, right? Sorry. So yeah, actually I'm going to make him slightly wider too. There we go. Even though he's still skinny, that helps a little bit, right? Typically the way you measure the head, it's like about, your shoulders are about like a half of your head over. I think it's fine. And just to be that nitpicky, I will go ahead and do this. Is definitely thinner. Let's see. And this has got like a somewhat 3D view on it, but that's fine. Right, because if I take this. We look at it relatively speaking, right? All right. Okay, so we didn't do too bad. You can see here that it's definitely much thinner on the model, right? And then there's also his legs are up a little higher, but I think this is fine. So we'll just roll with that. One thing that does strike me though is here. Yeah, because you want the torso to kind of, there we go, narrow down more. And then obviously these were just drafts of legs. It's not very good. And then actually gonna move his shoulders down just a tiny bit too. If we look at the proportion guide, you want your arms to basically go down to where your crotch level is. And then the hands go past it, but basically arms down to crotch. Because of the way we kind of did this, I'd say somewhere around here. So we want our arms to go. Somewhere here. I actually want the shoulders to be out more too, so yeah, it's good. All right. arms are pretty. I'm gonna make his arms a bit wider. As you can see here. Also, his shoulders are a little bit stiff. Let me do that. Emphasize that a little bit. Yeah, I'm also going to just lower shoulder a little bit. So unfortunately the mirror tool does not always, let's see, doesn't, it only works with the draw tool. So that means I have to basically cover it over. Yeah, I'm also going to do just make his arm a little bit longer, or a bit thicker. Actually, you know what? Yeah, shoulders gotta be more like this. It's a little bit flat too. Okay. His arms should, yeah, and then his hands would be basically like here. Basically like this. I like to block out the hand like this. Not to worry too much about how I draw it. Okay, so it kind of like as a result, um, just like, you know what, I could probably, I kind of see where this is going, right? It's like a little too broad, right? So, just gonna, I'll axe this side, right? Yeah, if I look at the proportional model, right, I can kind of see that I made the chest a little too broad, so I'll go ahead and try to make it thinner. And I could also just shrink the shoulder down a little bit too. Somewhere like that. Make it a little bit broader just for exaggeration purposes, right? And then get the arm, right? I think the rest of this is fine. I don't want to copy it exactly, but here we are. Looks like, yeah, it looks like it kind of just, I think a slight, there. All right. And then like the leg, right? I think the legs can be a bit wider than these are. I think that's fine. Let me just get the right shape. Because I also think his feet are going to be bigger too, because he is also taller. So let's do that. Okay. I think that's fine. I don't think we need to be too exact here. Let's just our copy. I'm just gonna all right. So this is what our this is what it looks like a little bit, right? So so we got the longer. Let's see. Sorry. So yeah, I actually am going to go ahead and just make the legs longer. Because they will sell the tall look anyway, so I think that's good. There we go. That's good. And he has like broad enough shoulders that kind of helps sell the strength a little bit. So I think that's also helpful. So okay, so this is what we're looking at. I think this is, oops. Something along these lines. All right. So now let's do okay, so what we got here? I think I'm actually just gonna end here for today since I'm still coughing up a storm. Since we also kind of went over the design stuff for most art, it's really just a matter of drawing everything on the base now. We'll just continue where we left off, probably next Sunday, but I should have some time, so I might actually just stream during the week. We'll have to see. Um, and we'll just go from there. Um, Basically, I'm just going to copy a lot of the design elements over that are already there, and then we'll try to decide on some more things like the hat and maybe the way his hair looks, and if there's any other design elements we could incorporate. But if we have the base body laid out, that should be a lot easier to do now. Um, so thank you everyone who joins. I appreciate it. Sorry I cut out a little early today, but thank you for joining. And I'll see you when I see you.